Cloak and Dagger, Season 2, Episode 9. Thoughts? This episode is called Blue Note. Another episode I love. Spoilers for I think I'm leading up to including this episode. The episode is rated TV 14, so will this video be? Let's dive right in. So, let's see. I'll briefly say I'm not sure I gave enough attention. I might have straight up forgotten, ADHD and all. It was really, just very, very sad to see that Tandy's mom, Melissa, has, is drinking again and doing drugs again. I think that's the only thing that I meant to say in earlier that, now, okay. There is not an awful lot to say about Leah, so I'll cover her first. I quite appreciate getting a little bit of background on her. Her fear was when, Andre convinced her into this life, and her dream was when she was playing music, when she was younger, and, earns applause. And I will say, very talented. I don't know, I feel like she got kind of commercial when she hit double digits in age, but, But and her being his nurse, and, she was trying to help him, and then that's how he repays her. Just so messed up. And sadly, there's a lot of abusers who look for someone who will try to take care of them or others, and consider them weak and easy to take advantage of, and so they take advantage of them. Again, really, I could imagine that some people were able to recognize abusers based on watching this show. And not only on account of Andre. I think that might just about cover everything for Leah. I guess there's not an awful lot new about Andre either, so I'll cover him next. And I think that does just, I guess, Mayhem, and then Tandy and Ty, possibly not in that order. But yeah, we see the, I suppose this is a good time to talk about the titular Blue Note, which is apparently a thing. The IMDb trivia has a little bit of information on it, and I appreciate that they didn't introduce it before this episode, because this really was when, Andre, obviously, the character, knew about it way before this episode, but it wouldn't really have served much of a purpose for the audience to know, because this is when he, we already knew he plays trumpet, but, and I believe his past as a musician was mentioned as well. I think when he explained about Tandy, when her powers made lights pop and such. But the, let's see, the Blue Note ends up being his master plan, and before, let's see, I guess not last episode, but the one before that, when Tandy and Ty are able, possibly the one before that, anyway, when Tandy and Ty are able to take down the trafficking and, operation, that he loses almost all of, he's left very weakened by that. And so the Blue Note is really the only thing he has. As far as I can tell, he wasn't, he might have eventually done it, but he wasn't, rushing into it. It's essentially like how if someone, sometimes you'll hear about someone trying to quit cold turkey and, flushing their drugs out, literally in the toilet, and then, they relapse, and they get extremely desperate for a fix, and now that they don't have any, they go to really, unreal lengths to get that fix. I feel like that's what we're seeing here. The Blue Note was not something he was planning on doing quite this soon, but without the girls. And that is also an accurate, sadly sometimes, if you almost, it's that thing of, there's, yeah, never mind. Yeah, but the fact that he is now so weakened but not quite dead makes him extremely dangerous. And yeah, I think that I couldn't help but note that I'm almost 100% certain that they did get the month count slightly wrong, because apparently, like they said, 96 months ago was, he was playing, he hits the Blue Note, and he, gets the migraines, which, yeah, I guess that was like unlocking the kind of potential for him to eventually become a Loa. And then, it says, 92 months ago, and then we see the suicide attempt and the Roxxon rig explosion, which was 8 months before the events of this season, not 4. So the no, yeah, because wait, am I the one who has it the other way around? I get, because 8 months. Oh, never mind. Yeah. Right. Because it wasn't necessarily. Yeah, I don't even know. Wow. I need sleep. This is not the first time I've gotten something wrong in a video recently. I definitely need sleep. I want to see what I can do about getting fully rested. Anyway, yeah, disregard. But let's see, yeah, we have the scene of Leah as the nurse, and, she's trying to help him, and, there's the hypersensitivity to light, the head pain, and I really appreciate the detail. She immediately goes into, like, this mode of, like, oh, that's, nothing showed up on your x-rays about a head injury. We gotta get to the bottom of this, because these are pretty significant signs of yeah, if this wasn't a pre-existing, if he didn't already have the migraines before this most recent thing, this could be a, yeah. So and she touches his skin, and he goes to the metavinyl store for the first time, evidently. He's confused about being there, and there are almost no records. I think actually the only one is Leah. So that's when he discovered, and yeah, it really was, like, one could almost have at least a little bit more sympathy for Andre, like, very, very little, like a fraction of a fraction, if the first time it happened was with someone who was actually like, I don't really believe in evil people, but someone doing evil, But no, it was someone trying to help him, someone that had been hurt, someone that had lost. And it doesn't disgust him, he just sees it as a solution. And the opening with the Blue Note also sets up, he was always reaching a little too far, the other musician who's in the same basic situation, it's not like, this is not like a rival musician. They're playing on stage together, and he's like, I don't know about this. I think you're, this might not go well, and he's like, no, I gotta do this, and yeah, and I do appreciate, yeah, I mean, I've heard some describe music, perhaps especially playing it, especially in front of an audience who's adoring it, to be a transcendent experience, so there is it works as a, yeah. Let's see. I do wonder if, like, if hypothetically the audience hadn't been receptive to the Blue Note, would Andre have ended up in the body of a cat and like a soul that everyone had given up on in his body, maybe? And the let's see. Right, yeah, I really appreciate that the Blue Note, they set up, it's something you have to build towards. So there at the end of the episode, the climactic scene of the episode, we understand why isn't he just playing it immediately? No, he has to build to it. And we even get the visual indication of the symbol lighting up. And sadly, they're not quite fast enough. He does get far enough with the Blue Note. The door is finally open, which, considering how Silent Hillish the Meta Vinyl Store does feel, yeah, there are a number of puzzles in those games that unlock, the path ahead. It's not always a key. So I think that might just about cover everything for him in this episode. I did quite appreciate that, yeah, they mentioned, you broke some ribs in the, attempt. And then when he is recovering and he's talking Leah out of being, of healing people, he does indeed have one of those things I don't know what it's called, but yeah, it's supposed to help protect his ribs, help him recover, more smoothly. And yeah, the fact that and he's careful in that in the nightmare there of couching it. He's like, oh, it wasn't even your dream. I can give you the music back. This will be good for me. I mean, this will be good for you. I'm just worried about you here, and yeah, again, abuser. Like, if someone is trying to talk you out of something that is important to you, I'm not saying they're always going to be wrong, but think hard. Don't make a decision that you can't undo. And let's see. Yeah, the part where, they're heading back, they went into her dream, they head back, and, Ty and Tandy are talking. And then he gets up and, like, confronts them, and the daggers don't hurt. Pain don't hurt. Like, it's, holy crap, that was, yeah. And yeah, I mean, he is starting to become a Loa, it seems, so he's able to go. I guess it was that he's inside Leah's mind, and he can and quite clever that Tandy obviously can't go through the nightmare door. She can only go through the light door afterwards, so she needs Ty to come back. I think that might just about cover. And I do also appreciate, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did think that Leah was 100% dead like Auntie, but she was still alive. She's just in this, she's in the hopeless state, the state of despair, like like Michaela. And we let's see, what was the other thing? Maybe that was what I had to say about that. Yeah, I will say near the end of this episode, I was like, wait, did I accidentally? I thought there were 10 episodes of the season, 20 episodes to the show. But, had to go double check. But yeah, this was indeed just the penultimate episode, because it looked like they were going to be able to defeat Andre there at the very end. But no, he's ascending to being a Loa. This is gonna be their biggest challenge yet. I really think they've done a great job. Like, season 1, it was the origin story for both titular characters, so it wouldn't really have fit if that season did have a super powered central antagonist. I've mentioned earlier, Connors was Ty's central antagonist for the season, and essentially Roxanne was Tandy's, and the lawyer was sort of the face of that, but he didn't have a huge amount of appearances. And then the climax has them going up against the zombie-like beings, But here we actually do have, they have to deal with Mayhem. They're dealing with Andre, And I think that might cover what I have to say about the... Yeah, so I really appreciated the discussions between Mayhem and Tandy about, should they, what should they do with Leah. And yeah, for a while, Tandy does want to kill. I really don't think that... No, she's not saying that to, like, yeah, keep Mayhem from... Because, like, Mayhem doesn't necessarily... Like, I appreciate that Mayhem doesn't necessarily care which of them does kill Leah, but that wasn't, like, both of them also wanted information out of Leah. I mean, if Mayhem wanted Leah dead immediately, why bother driving, very, very far away? Like, the send the cop away and kill her in some way. I'm not saying that's right to do. I'm saying that's what Mayhem would do if she wasn't determined to get information out of Leah. The fact that... So no, Tandy was actually seeking to kill her, and then she saw her hopes. And let's see... Yeah, it does not seem like Bridget is very much... She did say, you get to be in the driver's seat, you get to be in control, something like that, but... Yeah, this is not very Bridget-like of her behavior in this episode. And I do appreciate, there at the end, she does agree, although I suppose she yields because Tandy had the upper hand. I think she was about to scratch, what were you going to do? Scratch her with your nails? But, she brought nails to a Dagger fight. Dagger beats nails. Better than hammer, but yeah, she points out anyone that Leah hurts, that's on you. And I can't help but wonder, like, we don't... By the end of the episode, she is still alive. They got her into a hospital. I'm not sure she's going to be able to do very much in the finale, but I could imagine maybe a third season would have had, yeah, Leah being somewhat of an antagonist in, yeah. Because certainly she has, there's a lot of pain driving her. She might go out and hurt. I'm not sure she would go for more trafficking now that it's clear that she can be caught doing that. And they could have a thing of her, like, gaining powers after what Andre has done to her, after proximity, something like that. Now, I think that does pretty much... It did slightly amuse me that, like, the cop is like, well, you gotta do, and like, Mayhem is like, I'm Bridget, I'm Vice, and she gets to walk past. And then Tandy starts talking like she's also there on police business, which is like, I mean... I appreciate that it's bring your friend to work day here at Vice, but I don't think you have the authority that you're kind of playing, like, I'm fairly confident you have to identify yourself, maybe even show a badge in order, you don't get to just, but, it's a show, it's fine. It just tickles my fancy, that's all. Indeed it did. And I think that does cover... Right, I did appreciate, Mayhem's like, oh, gangs, sign me up, and, Ty is like, you're not coming. Last time, you left the room full of dead people, and, she's like, yeah, you're welcome. Now, give me a second. I know I saved an M60 around here somewhere. Ah, he teleported away. I think I will talk Tandy next. Talk Tandy to you. Yeah, the fact that she is actually willing to kill Leah, I'm not blaming her. I do think, it's one of those things where, as Harley Quinn points out, let's see if I can get it right. Statistically speaking, yeah, revenge rarely provides the catharsis that you think it will. Are we ready? But yeah, um, I gotta watch that movie again. Really, really love Birds of Prey. Anyway, yes, right, and also yeah, they're at the start of the episode. Ty and Tandy talking together. Yeah, the thing with he keeps asking, are you sure you're okay? And eventually she's like, you know what, you better stop asking. If you keep asking, I'm gonna kill you. And I think it's somewhere around maybe like if you touch my cigarettes again, I'll kill you. Like I feel like Bruce Willis, the lawyer, could probably settle this in court pretty easily, but once she starts talking about killing Leah, that's like, no, she literally does mean, and yeah, the forced prostitution, it is one of the worst things that a human being can do to another human being. But I do really appreciate this episode acknowledging, yeah, like she is in pain, and Ty, being, still a very good person, though some darkness for sure, is trying to communicate with her, which is crucial, but she's not ready. And that is, it's very, very difficult to help someone who's not ready to receive that help. And again, I can imagine a third season would have had her really deal with that trauma. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do much to resolve it in the finale. And certainly I doubt it wouldn't feel like fulfilling. I think it would feel rushed if they, by the end of the finale, I haven't watched the finale yet, so I don't know. But if by the end of the finale they had some kind of sign that, oh, she's A-okay now, right, the briefly about Andre, the montage of all the people coming into group, and he's like, you're definitely at the right place. Oh, he's such a bad person. These Marvel shows are doing such a good job. Did such a good job when they were on the air of creating just such compelling villains. Like I suppose not every single individual one is amazing, but like the TV villains of the MCU, I think are largely substantially better than the movie ones. Like there's a couple of great movie ones, obviously Thanos, but I would argue they have a better track record, and even the lesser ones are really, really great in the TV shows. So let's see, Tandy, I think that does get us nicely to, right, yeah, the conversation in the car, Mayhem and Tandy, and that's the other that, and that is the final that. That was just, yeah, some really great lines. Yeah, this episode has multiple characters. We already had Adina. Now we also have, it's not a huge surprise with Mayhem, but also Tandy. Like the show is really delivering on, with Tandy we do straight up have a titular character, planning to kill someone and being somewhat casual about it. I feel like this episode is probably about as Dexter as you can get on TV-14 rating. You have Adina clearly cleaning up after a corpse, and just having this casual conversation. With Dexter, it wouldn't always be during that, but close to that, he would have these very casual conversations. We have snarkasm, we have some very morbid humor. Really, the only thing they're not doing is like, these like really deadpan voiceovers, and the gore, the gratuitous nudity and sexuality. Well, there's a little bit of gratuitous sexuality, not so much in this episode, but earlier episodes. But yeah. And I think that does cover that scene. So that gets us to, I suppose, I think that might be what I have to say about Tandy that doesn't go nicely along with what I have to say about Ty. So Ty, you know, he watches Solomon. We have another great, you know, at this point they're kind of just flaunting, but I'm here for it. You know, we have another shot of, you know, the camera moves off Ty and then back onto where Ty should be, and he has teleported away. You know, obviously just, it's an in-camera effect. He just steps off camera when the camera is off, steps out of the shot when the camera is off him. And, you know, he goes to watch his mom and tries to, you know, is everything okay, Connors? You know, Connors, and, you know, he can probably deduce from you know what he's seeing through the window and her casual tone. There's something, you know, yeah. And let's see, and it's a good detail because yeah, you know, burning the newspaper that the blood got on, yeah, that'll hide that evidence. And I guess she already got rid of the body, which again, like, if you know, so I hear, you know, if you know what you're doing and you've got, you know, plastic, like, yeah, he died as he lived, surrounded by plastic. And yeah, she wrapped up the body. Then it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of getting it to somewhere that, you know, she can, like, dump the body or something. You know, there's we know there's water relatively close by. Maybe that's where she, you know, yeah, something like that. And let's see, I think that might just about, yeah. I really appreciate how Ty continues to really try to take care of Solomon, because it is very much this thing of, like, you know, if someone had, you know, like, he knows what it's like to be very adjacent to gang activity and not be 100% on board, you know, and have this innocence to him, you know. And yeah, the you know, he manages to get Solomon to you know, arrange a meeting so they can, you know, and the thing, you know, if they see you again, they're gonna kill you. That's what I'm, you know, that's what I'm planning for, or something like that is the line. And yeah, their little talk, and the thing with, you know, the detail that Solomon hasn't learned how to read. And this is, sadly, there are a number of you know, parts of America, and this isn't, like, you know, a person of color thing. That, you know, there's, yeah, a number of places in America there are teenagers who haven't learned how to read. The American education system is in a pretty bad state. And yeah, let's see. Then we have the yeah, they talk about Luke Cage. So we have another Netflix reference, and it's an article written by Karen Page, which I really can't put into words how glad I am. I heard that Deborah Ann Wall struggled to get work after the end of the Marvel Netflix shows that she was on, and, you know, the fact that she's returning, you know, on Disney Plus, you know, in the, yeah, to play Karen Page again, really love to see it. So relieved. She's so talented. She has a lot of great acting left in her, and I look forward to witnessing. She deserves a long career. And let's see. I suppose it's not impossible that maybe at least something from this show will also appear. Not necessarily in, you know, like, immediately on that, you know, but down the line, since this certainly wants to be part of Marvel Netflix, makes several distinct references. You know, we also had references to Misty Knight, Ben Urich, you know, and yeah, you know, it is legitimately nice when, you know, Ty says, you know, I think even if he wasn't bulletproof, Luke Cage would still, you know, choose to do good. Not on this show, at least in this run. but still, that was a really, really solid show. There's a lot of amazing stuff on the Luke Cage show. I am a Marvel Netflix Defender's defender. Not all of it, but most of it. Now, I think that does bring us to the rooftop, which it was quite cool when he teleports around taking care of the different game, because of course they didn't come alone, and he puts them on the rooftop, and I really appreciate how they handled this next bit, because I would pretty much bet money that it is not accidental that the building he puts them on has, it's Roxxon. Or ad for Roxxon. Whatever. There's a big Roxxon neon sign with its red light, like clearly visible on Ty. And there are several shots where he's talking to the two gang leaders, I guess, and they made sure, as far as cinematography goes, to put it in the background. I think it's like backwards, but you can clearly tell. There's not that many letters, and they're easy to make out. Because for better or for worse, and obviously I'm not saying it was good what happened to Ty, but Roxxon made him who he is today, and whether this will work out remains to be seen, and it is in part on Roxxon. And the fact that it's specifically a red light and that it's Roxxon, who are villains, I can't help but want. I could imagine that would also be a thing in the third season, like a gang war, which at the very start of this season they imply, if you're not careful, Ty, you could start a gang war. So, ultimately that hasn't happened over this season, but or at least it didn't get that big, maybe in part because Mayhem caused some mayhem and helped, at least slow it down, please. But I could imagine a full-blown gang war in a third season, and Leah could definitely play a role in that. She does have connections to some of these gangs, or at least one of the gangs, I suppose is possible. There's only one, but yeah. And I really appreciate that one of the gang leaders says, "You want to cut?" Because he's so deep into the crime world, he can't imagine an honest person. It is a foreign concept to him at this point. And again, that's not a racial thing. That you'll see the same with white organized criminals. Now and I gotta say, I love that there were a couple of seconds there where it wasn't clear if Ty was actually going to catch the guy that he dropped, but it was very much like, there's a bit of a Batman thing going on there with, if you won't talk, sure, here's a steep drop off a tall building, but yeah, he catches him, puts him back on, and we don't see too much of the drop, which again, TV-14, but we do hear him shouting with clear fear in his voice, and he does this thing of he gives the big anti-hero speech, I better not catch you doing this again kind of thing, vigilante justice thing. And he does say, what, if someone's buying for their own use, that's fine. I can't be everywhere, which is a neat thing for a teleporter to say. I suppose technically he can't. He can't clone himself. He can just he can almost be everywhere in a manner of speaking. But anyway, but let's see. We have he says, don't sell to someone who's going to use it to hurt people. And that does get us to the climax. We have a false start or two of, they this isn't the original building. They moved and they go, And then we hear the music, which explains, you know, in case we hadn't deduced it, which, I'll be frank, I hadn't. That is, of course, the humming that the, you know, the catatonic, you know, the girls forced into sex work. That's what they were humming. Yeah, Manson family. That is a good reference. And let's see. And Leah in the cop car, even though she was completely out of it, you know, was still humming the, yeah. And they managed to find the place, and there's like over a dozen people there, and not all of them are women. So I figure they're not all. They weren't all forced into prostitution, but I can imagine maybe could all of them have been in the support group, or what? I guess it was for women. Maybe he met them some other. Maybe they have multiple support groups, and there's one for men. Which, you know, it is true that, you know, there are men who are victims of or survivors of domestic abuse as well. Now, you know, not every time that a man is involved in domestic abuse, he is not always the perpetrator, and that is obviously also something that needs to be kept in mind. It's just important that we don't get to a point where, you know, when a woman is clearly a domestic abuse survivor and we can identify, okay, it clearly was this man, you know, if he starts talking about, oh, but it wasn't my fault, well, okay, let's not, you know, I'm sure there was some trauma that led to him doing what he did, but he did do what he did, and it's important that he's not allowed to be too close to the domestic abuse survivor. But yeah, there are some men who are domestic abuse survivors themselves. Yeah, and you know, Tandy finds Melissa there, and that was why she couldn't get her. Or wait, was she already by then in Andre's grasp? I suppose it's possible. Yeah, and that's why she didn't respond. And the text from Michaela, I don't know if that means that Michaela was at least temporarily. Yeah, I guess that's just telling us that she's no longer in the hospital bed. And then later, Andre did catch up to her, and yeah. Or maybe, yeah, maybe Andre can just, like, attract them to that place, because it certainly seemed like, could he really have gone to different places to find all these different people? I think he's using his powers to yeah. And I think that, yeah, that brings us to the very end. Not gonna claim that I 100% understand why they couldn't have teleported close enough and then she throw the dagger, but it is a cool use of power. I'm not gonna, you know, the rule of cool applies. And maybe there is an explanation. Please put it in the comments if I missed something. And I do appreciate, you know, I like the fact that the Tandy sees Michaela and then Melissa there. That's obviously gonna slow her down at least a little bit. Now, yeah, at one point, the, you know, I forget which of them, but Tandy or Ty says something like, is that music? And, you know, there's different schools of thought. I'm just kidding. Jazz is amazing. So, and I'm not just talking about the Jackrabbit and his friends. Anyway, IMDb trivia for this episode. In jazz and blues, a blue note is a standard that, for expressive purposes, is sung or played at a slightly different pitch than standard. And someone else pointed out about Luke Cage and Karen Page. Yeah, really, really excited for the finale. I'm gonna try to do it tomorrow. Can hardly wait. I'm really glad I don't have to wait. I do really empathize with people who, yeah. Yes, I think that does cover absolutely everything, because yeah, I think, oh right, it was a pretty cool fight between Tandy and Mayhem. You know, the yeah, and I felt like they did a good job. You know, at the end of the day, like, Mayhem does have the police training, you know, and Tandy has the more lethal weapons, and I did appreciate, you know, she's tactically smart by, you know, before anything else, she knocks out the gun, and yeah, I thought the intercutting there worked well. You know, you got to be careful about intercutting an action scene with a non-action scene. You can really, it can kill the momentum. You know, it can work really well if you cut between two action scenes, but cutting from an action scene to a non-action, yeah. I thought it really worked, and I feel pretty confident that if Tandy had not knocked away the gun, if she had just stood there, I think yeah, Mayhem might have shot Leah through Tandy. Like, she might have gone for, like, just wounding Tandy, or maybe, like, yeah, maybe wound Tandy, and then when she's no longer blocking the path, then shoot Leah, but I think there's a pretty strong chance that she would not have hesitated to shoot Tandy as long as it meant she would be able to shoot Leah.